here we go. Hello and welcome to Anxiety Hacks. I'm your host, Kate Hudson-Hall, and thank you very much for joining us. Now, this is a platform for people to share relatable and inspiring and uplifting conversations which are so relatable to this what's happening in this day and age with anxiety. And I speak to people and that have anxiety and the steps that have helped them to begin to break free from their anxiety and be able to calm themselves and what's worked for them. And then I also talk to professionals that may or may not have had anxiety and how they help their clients with anxiety. So it's very exciting. Anyway, before we begin, I just want to mention my book that came out a couple of months ago called Anxiety Hacks, if you haven't heard about it. So there's got many, many different tools and techniques and tips in the book to be able to find what works for you, to be able to begin to break those difficult behaviors, those anxious behaviors. So it's on Amazon, so check it out now. Now, well, we have a very, very special guest today, which I'm super excited about. Her name is Dr. Laurie Weiss. Now, Laurie is a psychotherapist, a coach, and relationship communication expert. And she has helped more than over 60,000 individuals reclaim life, energy, and find joy in life for more than 5 decades. She's taught professionals in 13 countries, and she has authored 13 books. Oh my gosh. And in the book, she makes complex information accessible to anyone, which is very, very important for us to be able to understand and to be able to learn. So that is amazing. And her popular Letting It Go teaches rapid anxiety and stress relief. So we want to hear about that. And she offers rapid anxiety and stress relief using logosynthesis and helps her clients to use this powerful new process to reclaim their life energy and rediscover their own joy and satisfaction. So with a certification as a Logosynthesis Practitioner, she teaches powerful tools to help clients rapidly relieve past, present, and anticipated stress so that they can more easily reach their goals. Oh, it sounds fascinating. And her most recent book is called Letting It Go, Relieve Anxiety and Toxic Stress in Just a Few Minutes Using Only Words. So we want to hear all about this, Laurie. Oh my gosh. Oh, welcome.
It sounds impressive, doesn't it?
It is impressive. It's very, very impressive, Laurie. So thank you for joining us. This is
I'm
amazing. Amazing. Oh my gosh, what a career you've had. Well, we were just talking before and you said, oh, you were just about to retire and then, oh, I want to do this course.
Right. And I was 70 years old then.
Oh my gosh.
So it was like, okay, I'm 83 now. So,
oh my gosh. For
so
anybody
it's been
watching on the video, you don't look out. You see, it was 70 now.
So it's been a very, very interesting journey. And it happened totally accidentally. I was in a position where well, I was out with friends at a conference. You do that, or we used to before the pandemic.
Yeah.
And, we were having a great time. They found this restaurant that I was not the least bit interested in, but I thought they really want it. They don't get that kind of food very often. Okay. So it was a Mexican restaurant in Canada.
My favorite.
Well, it was in Canada. And they said, it'll be quiet. It's a family place. It'll be very nice. Well, it was quiet when we went in. And then the families started coming in, the kids started screaming. And so it wasn't so quiet. And then the mariachis came in. And the mariachis came in with their trumpets. It was not quiet. And I'm one of the super sensitive types, highly sensitive person. So that was pretty unnerving in itself.
Yeah.
And then I ordered food. I can't eat spicy food. And I explained that to them. And they said, oh, this isn't spicy. And they brought it. It burned my mouth. I sent it back. And that happened again. And so by the time I had sent back the second meal, everybody else was through. So I didn't eat. And I was sort of like that. And I thought, okay, I can leave while my husband pays the bill. And I can go outside and I can calm down. And I did all of the calming things that I knew how to do. And I thought I'd done them very, very well. And I thought I was fine. And then my friend, who was a psychiatrist, came out and asked me what happened. And I told him, and he said, are you okay? I said, yeah, I'm fine, which I thought I was. And he said, well, tell me what really happened. And that was when I told him that, my body just clenched.
Yeah.
And he said, well, will you try this with me? And I've known him for 40 years, it was not a big deal to say yes.
Yeah.
So I did. And he said these words that I repeated without knowing what I was doing. And all of a sudden, I felt this incredibly profound relaxation.
Oh, really?
That I didn't even, I had no idea, how much further I had to go to really relax. It was just amazing. And okay, is this the stuff you've been talking about? That sounded, totally incomprehensible and silly. And I didn't believe it. I just thought it was one more of his, silly things.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So I said, all right, I've got to learn it. And at the time, it had only been in use for about 5 years.
Right.
And primarily in Europe, but a few people in Canada knew, in Nova Scotia. And I live in Denver, which is about more than 2,000 miles from Nova Scotia, about 2,500 miles. And I had a very busy travel schedule, but they set up a training for just a few people on the one weekend that we could manage it. So we flew to Nova Scotia. And of course, airplane travel was very, very stressful for me at the time, just because, not because I was scared, not because of anything, just because of the intensity of it.
What does that mean, the intensity?
The noise and the people and the crowds and just, overwhelming kind of stimulation.
Yeah.
So we went there. I didn't understand the training very well, but I thought, okay, I'll try it. It's easy. And that was fine. But I came home and I forgot to get upset on the airplane. It's a one-day trip. I just forgot. I didn't notice it. I just sat there and read. Everything was fine. I mean, I was tired, but that was okay. And then I noticed that I did not get upset in noisy places anymore. I could tolerate it.
Really?
This is many years later. That hasn't changed. And I didn't find out that I had done a thing about airplane travel in the training that I had totally spaced. I didn't find that out until I found some notes about it about 3 years later. So it was like, okay, this is very, very powerful. Wow. And even though I don't believe it and don't understand it, it works. And
I love it.
That's been a lot of the experiences.
So how does it work?
Well, it says a couple of things. One, everything is energy, which most of us are pretty aware of.
Yeah.
And that we tend to block our energy to the creative source, whatever that source is for people, to protect ourselves. And we do that from birth on. It's a natural human practice to protect ourselves. And to do that, we kind of tie off some of the energy, we freeze it around things so that are overwhelming to us, that we can't manage. And the other thing is that words can move energy.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the crux of it. That by saying some words, you can connect with your higher self, your essence, the power, whatever it is. And that part of you can heal, can release energy, can change things without your daily, everyday mind having any idea what's going on. So we access that healing power.
And so could you share an example?
Okay, this one is kind of fun. This happened the week after we did the training.
Yeah.
We went on a cruise. My husband and I have been partners for a long time.
Yeah.
In our work and in our teaching. So we went on a cruise about internet marketing. And we said, we have this new tool. We don't know it very well, but we need to practice. Does anybody, we'll be glad to work it with anybody who has some stress or has some problem that they want to solve.
Yeah.
So the very first time on this cruise, there is we're all hanging on the railing, waving and things like that. Yeah. And one woman is hanging back. And I said, oh, come on, there's room. And she said, no, thank you. Well, okay, well, I might fall overboard. Well, if you've ever been on a cruise, the railing hits me at about my bra line. So it's really, really hard to fall overboard. And she was about my size. So I said, oh, well, would you like to try to fix that? And she said, oh, yeah, okay. So later on at a cocktail party, we go off in a corner and I have her say these words. And she looks at me, she says, oh, my gyroscope, my internal gyroscope is broken. So I said, oh, okay. And we said the words again about the internal gyroscope. And she looked at me and she said, now I can go on escalators too. And I was like, well, okay. I had no idea what was happening.
So were they specific words specifically for her, or is that something that you would say?
There's a framework.
Yeah.
And you insert whatever is the triggering element into the framework.
Okay.
For example, when people are anxious,
yeah,
they often respond to something, like it might be a smell, it might be a sight, it might be thinking they're going to be doing something in the future, or remembering something from the past.
So trigger sort of thing. Yeah.
And you insert that into the sentence.
Oh.
There are 3 sentences, and you insert it into each one.
Oh, and so there's a specific kind of, so you would say each phrase, but inserting that trigger into each phrase.
Right. And when I do it with clients or with anybody, I mean, these people weren't, this woman wasn't a client, obviously. We were at a cocktail party. I've done it in the swimming pool too, with people who are anxious about things, and we're jumping up and down in a water aerobics class. And we're saying the sentences, and they're healing whatever it is that needs to be healed. So, and I've done it with clients. I mean, seriously, shortly after that, when I was learning I was a young woman, 17 years old, was referred because she had just revealed that she had been sexually abused from the age of 5 to the age of 11 by a family member. And it was interfering with her relationships in school and with a boyfriend. And she had told a counselor, who told her mother, who brought her to me. So she and her mother came. And I asked her why she didn't tell, why she hadn't told. And she said, because she was sure it would destroy the family. And then I said, well, do you have an image? Do you have a picture of what destroying the family would look like? And she said, I do. And I asked her if she wanted to try something a little strange. She said, okay. And her mom was in the room. And so we did the words about her image, the picture of destroying the family.
Yeah.
And at the end, I asked her what had happened. And she said, well, the picture sort of crumbled and I swept it out of the room.
Oh, oh my gosh, Laurie, I love it.
And then we talked about social things and, things like that, and her relationship between her and her mom. And one more session, I think it was 2 sessions later, we did something similar about one of the instances of the abuse.
Yeah.
And something very similar happened.
Did you work with the image that time?
The image.
Yeah.
The image. And then a session later, I asked her if she wanted to do some more work. And she said, no, it all seems to be gone. And it was. I mean, we did some more social, processing and things like that. But, normally a case like that would take at least 6 months to resolve. Yeah. We had 6 sessions.
That's
she
incredible.
Was fine. And so, the more I had experienced things like that, the more convinced I became.
Yeah.
And that was just with my very, very basic training. There's much more.
And so so each time do you work with the visual image, or it depends whether the person's visual or kinesthetic? Or
yes, it depends on whether they are visual or auditory or kinesthetic, whatever image they have. And sometimes it's just a belief that I am a certain way.
Yeah. And
they can't pin it on something, or it's something that's happened over and over again. And sometimes you do it in little pieces. For very, very severe trauma, very often you have to do it in just a little bit, a new image, until they're all cleared out.
Yeah.
So it really depends, but it's so fast. I couldn't believe that, that it was really possible, but it really is. So.
Oh my gosh.
That's why I wanted to indoctrinate you.
Yeah.
Because your clients need it.
I need it. I want to learn it. Oh my gosh, this is fascinating. I need to know more. Oh, it's so exciting. So, so how can people, if they wanted to learn and to use it, how could people do that? Is there?
Well, okay. After I'd been at it for a while, Dr. Lammers, Dr. Willem Lammers from Switzerland, wrote pretty academically. He's trained in all kinds of things, and he discovered it. He didn't invent it. He discovered that this process would work.
Okay.
And I told him that I thought, I could make it available. I could write about it for the general public. And he was very enthusiastic about supporting me in writing a very, very simple version for it. And so, needless to say, once I learned it, I just kept going to sessions and learning more and learning more and learning more. I just was fascinated and wound up getting certified and being a trainer. But I wrote this book called Letting It Go, Relieve Anxiety and Toxic Stress in Just a Few Minutes Using Only Words, which is really what it's about.
Yeah, now that makes sense now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a step-by-step process. It has some of the stories that I've told you in it, because those were the stories that transformed my life.
Yeah. Wow.
And it's Rapid Relief with Logosynthesis, which is the name of the process.
Yeah. So Logosynthesis. So, and it's for sale on Amazon.
It's for sale on Amazon, and it's for sale on all platforms.
Yeah.
You can get it anywhere. And on my website, there is a little introduction to it, which is a free 7-day program.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. So reduce worry starting now. So it's a
Right.
7-day email program.
Yeah. And the sentences are there. It really is helpful to read the book to know how to use the sentences.
Yeah.
But the sentences are there. So they're not a secret. They're out all over the place.
Oh my gosh, this is fascinating. I want to learn it. Oh my gosh. So you've obviously been, you were about to retire, and then you had this experience, and then you've been helping people with it, I presume, ever since.
Yes. And I love being able to help people that I don't even have to talk to, because people would take the book, and I got all these wonderful, wonderful reviews that said, I used it. It changed my life in an hour. Okay, good. I'm really glad. That's what I intended. And other professionals have said, this isn't going to work. And they tried it. Yeah. It worked. And they got involved in the community, like I imagine you will.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Amazing. So it sounds like you don't actually have to believe in it. You give it a go.
I don't believe in it. I never believed in it. I just know it works.
Yeah. But that's, that's very much.
I don't believe in my phone either. It's way, it's
absolutely. But it works.
But it works.
And yeah, no, so it sounds similar to the emotional freedom technique, the tapping technique,
that was one of the things I used in the parking lot when I was waiting for my friends to come out of the restaurant.
Oh, was it one of the things? Yeah. So tapping on, so it's tapping on a routine of points while thinking about any negative feeling. You can reduce that down. But what's also great about that is you don't have to believe in that either.
Right. I taught that too before I learned logosynthesis.
Okay. Yeah. Because I practice the EFT. And
it's great.
I love it.
Yeah.
Because it does work. And it's great to have it right at your fingertips there, isn't it? Once you've learned the points to tap on, then you can reduce down any negative feeling, but particularly for anxiety, just take yourself off and calm yourself down.
Yeah. When we do logosynthesis, we don't use the feeling as a trigger. We use what happens that stimulates the feeling, that the feeling is a reaction to.
Yes. Yes. So it's kind of the step before, isn't it?
The step before.
Yeah.
Because feelings change. That's the purpose.
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot for me to think about here, isn't there? I've got a lot of learning for me to do now. And so what other therapies, so obviously psychotherapy, and then what other therapies did you or do you use to be able to help your clients with anxiety?
Well,
or logosynthesis now.
My home base is transactional analysis. I've been certified in transactional analysis for over 50 years.
Yeah.
And I love it. And I started with it, and it's wonderful for social situations, for understanding what goes on between people, for communication. Then I got into inner child work.
Oh, because you've written a book about that, haven't you?
Yes, I've written basically the definitive book in the field about doing inner child work using a developmental approach. And we talked about, at that point, we were using a reparenting approach. Contractual, specific reparenting about specific areas. Now, the developmental framework is absolutely incredibly powerful and something that I use to help discover the trigger for any logosynthesis things. But instead of doing the necessary reparenting work to heal the trauma, what I would do is logosynthesis and the social learning that's important. I wrote another book called An Action Plan for Your Inner Child, which is a program which is, I don't remember how many months, but it's for working in self-help groups and learning the social skills that one has blocked out because of trauma in developmental stages.
Yeah.
So, and that's the other side of the trauma. The trauma work, I definitely find logosynthesis much less painful, much less difficult for people to manage, and much faster.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. So, so is it very big in the States there? You know, many people it's not. Because I hadn't heard about it over here.
It's like 16 years old. So it's spreading. It's big in Switzerland, Germany, Italy.
Right.
There are people in the UK and in Ireland, but very few. And so it's being spread by word of mouth. It's not fancy, but there are more and more people. There are more and more books. There are now some books about using it in the schools, not translated to English yet. There's a wonderful kids book about the nightmares, and it works with little kids. So it's a developing process. There's a man in Peru who's doing a lot of work. The pandemic, in a way, spread it, because instead of teaching it in person, which was very, very limiting, it started going online. So it's available all over the world. So,
oh my gosh. Oh
so
my gosh.
And Dr. Lammer's got the Energy Therapy Award for outstanding work from the Energy Therapy Association a few years ago.
Wow.
And he's got a lot of books too, but he's learned how to write for the public. But they're still much more intense than what I write.
Yeah, yeah.
But he writes for the academic world and for the public.
Right.
And anything of mine that you find, you'll find links. There's an organization called Logosynthesis International that you can find online, and that will give you a list of the practitioners. There are over 100 now in various places in the world. And those are the certified practitioners, but the people who are using it, obviously far more than that.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, this is absolutely fascinating. Oh, Laurie, we've almost run out of time now. This is so disappointing. I want to continue to talk with you. Oh my gosh, this is incredible. So all of Laurie's links and the links to her book and to the free gift, they are all in the show notes. So the gift, the free gift, the Reduce Worry Starting Now, the 7-day email program for only 10 minutes a day. The link is in the show notes. Plus, it's on your website, isn't it, Laurie?
It's on my website. My website is my name, laurieweiss.com.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And that's the best place to go. But we have listed all the Facebook and the Instagram and all of those other details about you in the show notes. So people can easily come and find you, and your book link as well for your most recent book that we all need to get. Oh, oh yes. So, well, Laurie, thank you so much for joining us. It's been wonderful speaking to you.
It's been a delight. Thank you.
And for sharing just such powerful information for people to take away and start to begin to work on themselves, to begin to change those behaviors, those anxious behaviors.
Yeah.
So
it's
thank you.
So easy.
Yeah.
It's mind-bogglingly so easy.
I'm excited. So, well, that's all for today's episode of Anxiety Hacks. So thank you to everybody for listening and for joining both of us here today. And before we go, make sure you subscribe to the podcast on Apple iTunes so you never miss an episode. Make sure that you swipe to the right and leave us a review. That would be fantastic. So thank you to everybody, and I look forward to speaking with you in the next episode.